Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a fantastic day. Hope you are having a great week. Today, I wanted to continue our conversation we've been talking about the past couple days about understanding your business's numbers. We see many landscapers ask inside the different Facebook groups of, how much should be charging for this? How much should be charging for that? And you see many different responses of people saying, you must know your numbers. You understand your numbers. Well, we are talking about these numbers you need to know. The past couple days, we talked about equipment costing, why you must understand what your equipment is costing. You must be charging for your equipment. We've talked about understanding all the costs that go into having employees and why you must be charging for this. And today we are going to be talking about the king number, and this is one of the most common things I see landscapers not charging enough for is their overhead. You must understand overhead. You must know what it goes into it and the reason why you have to understand this number. And the main reason why is because it's something that you need to be recovering in your estimating system. Sorry, I just knocked my chair down. Um, you must be charging enough for cover your overhead, I should say. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Actually, let me know if you can hear me, see me, things are working well. Put it in the chat. I would greatly appreciate it. And let me know where you're from. So again, we're going to continue talking about overhead. I know we've been talking about numbers a lot lately, but it's something that we see many landscapers that they're not charging enough to recover all these costs. And again, today we're going to be talking about the king number, and this is overhead. Um, Now, overhead is basically the background items that you necessarily can't charge a customer for. So you can't go put your rents or your utilities on a bill and give it to a customer. They're going to think you're crazy. When you go to the grocery store, you go to McDonald's, they're not giving you a bill for their rent. They're not giving you a bill for their utilities. They're building it in their pricing. And this is exactly what you should be doing when you're pricing out your work. So I definitely encourage you to start looking at your true numbers and understand what goes into it. So like I said, today I wanted to talk about overhead and some of the key numbers that have to go into your overhead. So some of the numbers that actually need to be thought about and really looked at are numbers for like advertising. So this advertising could include, business cards, flyers, your website, you do EDM, anything like that, anything that would be to use for market or advertising your business. You could have bad debts in there. We of course want to make sure we're collecting on all our work in a timely manner. But unfortunately, in this business, we get some people that do not pay. So we have some bad debts. So we must be recovering for that some way. We have to kind of anticipate some of this cost, and we obviously want to do our best to keep that down and charge and collect on those debts. But again, we're going to have some. So we need to accommodate that and charge for that. If you have computers in your business, say you sponsor your son's soccer team or t-ball team or whatever like that. You buy the shirts and all that good stuff. That's a donation that needs to be in your overhead. We have to charge for that. Another big one we see landscapers not including in there would be downtime labor. So, downtime labor would be if you're working around the shop, you're painting the office, you're putting some new gravel down in the yard, you're, whatever, putting some irrigation system. I don't know, anything around there. Those are downtime labor. It could be also working on equipment. That's downtime labor. And if you're not including in your overhead and you're just paying your team members to be around the shop and all that stuff, it's coming out of your profits. So you must be charging for it. Education. Education could be anything like you join our Million Dollar Academy. It could be going to the ICPI school or anything like that. Going down to equipment, you can consider that education. However, the other thing would be interest and bank charges. So if you have a credit card, bank charges, anything like that should be put in here. Something that I would consider putting into your overhead is the credit card charges. I recommend that you put all your credit card charges in your overhead and you're charging all your clients for that to make sure you're recovering it all. You can have licenses and permits. Now, permits are not going to be for like job permits. If you have to get a specific job permit, that's going to be billed directly to the customer. But I'm talking about, any license. If you have to get a general contractor, you have to get an irrigation license. We need to be accommodating and charging for that as well. Cell phones, office equipment, salaries. Now, this one here, obviously, we want to have like a bookkeeper or secretary or something like that. Admin assistant, that would be a salary that would be in your overhead. But your salary as a owner could be split up. Now, if you just strictly do sales and admin types of things, then all your salary should be in overhead. But let's say you work in the field 50% of the time, and 50% of the time you work doing sales and admin types of work. What you want to do is take your salary and split it up. So let's just say, again, you work 50-50 and you want to make, for easy numbers here tonight, we'll say you want to make $50,000 per year. So 25,000 of your salary is going to be in field labor, 25,000 is going to be in overhead. Just to split it up and be fair and price things appropriately. You can have taxes, you can have your telephone, training systems, uniforms, all those types of things, rent, all those types of things are considered overhead. And the biggest thing I want to say here is that if you aren't charging for it, usually what happens, we see many, many landscapers, they get to the end of the year and they're like, where's my money at? They look at the CPA, the CPA is like, oh, you didn't make any money this year. Well, shit, where'd that money go? We worked all year long and bust our butt, and now we don't have anything to show for it. What happened? A lot of times it's because you're not charging enough to recover that overhead, and overhead must be recovered. And one thing I always tell people is to think of overhead as one giant bill. Imagine getting this bill slapped on your desk January 1st. For whatever your overhead is for your business, you get slapped on your desk, and now you have to pay it off. The sooner you get this overhead bill paid off, the sooner you're going to make a true profit. But what we see is a lot of landscapers, they go through the season and they don't pay it off, or they get real close. They'll get till December and then they don't have any more work and they're slowed down and they don't make any money. So you have to understand what your overhead is and pay it all off. And again, going back to the bill, imagine that overhead bill getting slapped on your desk. So you have this bill, you go out, start doing work. You finish that job up, you have that profit. The profit goes to paying that overhead. You do the next job, you get a piece of profit. That goes paying that overhead. And you continue doing this. And the sooner you get that overhead bill paid off, the sooner you make what I consider a true profit. It isn't until you have that overhead bill paid off for the year, you don't make any money. So many, and this goes for most contractors, many landscapers don't pay that bill off until October or November. But what happens in October and November is we get burned out. We are tired. We're done. We've been working all summer long. It's been hot. We're just exhausted, or hunting season's here. We kind of take our foot off the pedal. We don't do as many jobs, or the season starts slowing down. And what happens is you don't make as much money because you worked all summer to pay that overhead off. And now we only have a short time period to start making a true profit. So you must figure out ways to either keep moving forward, keep doing work of some sort, and pay that overhead bill off. And this is where, again, where I said we see a lot of landscapers, they bust their butts all year long, and then they don't have any money at the bank at the end of the year is because they haven't paid that overhead off. So let me know if you guys have any questions about anything. One thing I do want to say is if you are interested in learning your numbers and understanding what your numbers are for your business and how to estimate based on your numbers, then we have our upcoming course. You can see the course, the screen up top here. It's happening October 29th and 30th. We're going to be teaching your numbers and giving you all the tools you need to calculate out your numbers for your landscape business. And then from there, you're going to be able to take those numbers and create an estimate with our estimating tools we have inside of the Academy. So you're going to have access to all our calculators for the numbers. You're going to get access to the different estimating system we have in there to be able to charge and recover that overhead. We're going to teach you the different overhead recovery systems we have in there. We have a couple different ones. We're going to get into those in another video at some point, but there's SOARs, the doors, and MORs, OPPH. There's just various ways and different ways to recover that overhead. So now we have this bill from our overhead. We need to figure out how to charge for it and how to do it appropriately. We see many landscapers that will just take their numbers and the materials and multiply it by 2 or 3. That may work for a little while, but as your business starts to grow, you start adding more overhead, start adding this and start adding that. and then you're not going to have as much money. And basically, what you're doing by that is just guessing. The other thing I will say is doing that is something that we did in our business. I don't even remember 15 years ago. This is something, how those numbers the same? They're not. If you're doing the same thing we did 15 years ago, you're not making any money, or you're not making the money you should be making. And the nice thing is when you start making money, start making a profit. And I'm not talking about going ripping people off and, and just jumping on the bed full of money. No, I'm not talking about that. You should be making a reasonable living and, and taking care of your family the way you need to. But when you start having money, it makes life so much easier. You can start having less stress because you're at least comfortable and you're able to start making good financial decisions. So it takes you to understand your numbers. You must understand this. You have to understand what your overhead is and be able to charge for it and recover it. Let me know if you guys have any questions about overhead, what it is. I know some of you just jumped in and out. So just let me know if you have any question about overhead. Again, overhead are the back end costs to your business. So those are going to be your rent, your utilities, your salaries for your bookkeeper. It could be yourself, telephone, insurance, bank charges, bank service charges, cell phones. Those are the types of things that should be considered in your overhead, and you must understand what they are. You have to figure out those all out. And you might be asking, well, I don't even know where to get this information from. Well, there's a couple different things you can do. You can first off look at your P&L. So if you've been in business for a while, you have a P&L statement that you can print off. Those have quite a few different things of your overhead on there. You can also start looking at some of your monthly bills. So if you have your bill for your telephone, if you have your bill for your utilities, your rent, all those types of things, that can be considered overhead. So we want to start compiling those into a list and putting that all together. Those are some of the easy ways to start looking at your P&L. I'm sorry, to start looking at your overhead. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to be hopping off here. Again, we are having a course October 29th and 30th. It's a 2-day live virtual event where we're going to go through your numbers. You're going to be able to ask us questions. We're going to work with you and get you all set up to understand all your numbers for your landscape business. We're going to give you all the calculators, so it makes it just very, very simple. It's all plug and play. Now, I know there's many different softwares out there that can do this, and they're all great. But I'll give you a little example that I came across today of a nice thing of having some of the stuff in the spreadsheets is we had one of our academy members today. He's figuring out a pretty large project and just wanted to double check some of his numbers. He wasn't 100% sure on putting everything together. He has one of those major, I'm not going to call it the company's name, but he has one of the major software programs and it's great. However, he wasn't able to put some of his numbers together because it would change all his budgeting and all his pricing throughout. We're able to put some numbers in the ones we have in the academy. He was able to put it together real quick, knew exactly down to the penny how much he's going to pay his team, how much he had to build the customer because he knew what it's going to cost him. So it's nice to be able to use some of these spreadsheets in a different way than some of the calculators that are in those packages, the software packages. The other nice thing about with using our system is, say you can't afford some of the software that's out there. Well, the nice thing is you're going to start to understand your numbers now. So you're going to have a good idea of what goes into it. So when time comes and you can't afford that software and you want to speed up the process, you can easily take the numbers from here and apply it to those estimating systems or those computer systems, I should say. So again, there's nothing wrong with those systems. Those are all great. They all have their pros and cons. But it's nice to be able to understand and get a better idea of what goes into all these numbers. This is something that took us some time to really grasp and understand. I know early on when we had a consultant come help us, they might as well have been speaking another language to me because some of the things I didn't understand what they're saying. And it wasn't until I sat down and started really looking at it and start understanding and start reading more and start getting a better idea and playing with the numbers before I really understood them. And now it just becomes second nature because we've been doing it so long. But this is where we want to share our numbers course with you and using the tools that we have. And the tools we've been using in our landscape business for many, many, many years, and tools we've been given to our clients too have been using this as well and have great success with it. So hopefully you guys will check out the numbers course. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any questions about overhead and why you must know it. Again, you have to understand all your true costs of your business, and overhead is king. It's one of those numbers that can really hurt you just because it's typically a very large number that goes into running your business, or a larger number. So if you're not recovering for it in your estimating systems, the money's coming out of your pockets. You're not going to have any money at the end of the year. So I encourage you guys to start understanding your numbers, start understanding what overhead, start looking up, do research, get in a numbers course, and we can help you guys get it all figured out. All right, guys, I hope you're having a great day. We'll be hopping back on here. Let's see, I'll probably be back on Saturday. I won't be able to do it tomorrow night, but we'll be back on Saturday to help answer any questions. So hope you guys are having a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Talk to you later.